All right, welcome back to another phenomenal episode. Today we are joined by Juliette Hartmann. And honestly, this is probably the best episode we've ever released, mainly because I wasn't in it. Tony and Avery had to take over and host the pod, and they did a phenomenal job, and I'm enjoying listening to it, and I hope you do too. Welcome to Podium Talk.
Welcome back to Podium Talk, everyone. Today, as you see, I'm actually Eli Parker. Eli can't make it, so it's just going to be Avery and our guest, Juliette Hartmann. But before we get into anything, we always got to start with the training recap. So, Avery, kick us off.
I had a pretty good week 3, but it was just a week 3. I got my squat done for the block, but I just don't want to fumble this week because I haven't finished the block in like 6 or 7. So, but no, it's been a good week. Other than that, just want to finish. And what about yourself, Tony?
Yeah, man, it's been good. I think I've had like a great week this entire. I don't think I had a bad session the entire week. So on to the week 3. Uh, but let's go ahead and introduce yourself, Juliette.
Hi, so I'm Juliette. I'm a collegiate powerlifter from Georgia Tech. I've been powerlifting for, I think, just over 2 years now. I don't really know. I don't really keep track. But next meet upcoming is CNATS, and this will be my second CNATS, and I think my fourth meet or fifth meet overall. So
Okay. Well, let's get a little bit more background on you. I know you're not from Georgia, so do you want to like
yeah.
maybe run us or a little bit through your childhood, where you're from, sports you played, anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm from Delaware originally. I've lived there my whole life. So right next to the University of Delaware in Newark. It's like this cute little college town. Um Growing up, I was like half athletic, half not athletic. Like I tried every single sport out there and I kind of sucked equally at all of them. So like I tried to play soccer, I was bad at it. I played volleyball for 5 years, I was bad at it. Like I never really found a sport that I was good at. I played basketball, I got 3 concussions. I played lacrosse, and then eventually after like my 5th concussion, my doctor was like, "Hey, like you can't keep doing this. You might do like long-term brain damage if you keep getting hit in the head." So eventually I had to stop playing contact sports altogether. And by the time I got to high school, like I ran pretty much full time. So cross country in the fall and then track like winter into spring because I wasn't allowed to do anything else.
That's interesting.
Dang.
I feel like every like successful powerlifter I've like met had like a sport that they were like, oh yeah, like I like that like just for some reason they like could have gone D1 or like to college with, and just for some reason it didn't work out. But I
Yeah,
guess
no, not me, not me. I mean, I was pretty good at lacrosse, but like it was never one of those things where it's like, oh, maybe I could play, at a D3, D2 school. Like it was just never really in the cards for me. I think it's cuz I jumped around a lot. Like I could never really stick with something. Like that's one of my biggest personal flaws, I guess, is that it's really hard for me to stick with one thing. Like I did roller derby for a year, like 2 years ago, played that, decided that I would rather not get hurt playing it because powerlifting is more important to me. But, like, if there's a sport or activity, like, I've probably tried it. Um, and it wasn't until powerlifting that I found something that I was like, "Oh, like, I'm kinda good at this. Like, maybe I should stick with it instead of just trying something else." But,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. Please stick with it. But tell us how you got into powerlifting. Actually, I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, the way I got into powerlifting was honestly kind of an accident. So I've been like going to the gym lifting for almost my whole life. Like my dad would take me to the gym with him and be like, "Oh, like what are you doing?" And he would try to train me how to do it. I remember one time I was like 12 or 13, I went to the gym with him. He was benching and he like showed me how to bench. He made me pick up the bar. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can do the bar. He puts a plate on. I am 13 years old, never benched a day in my life. And he's like, you can do it. I was like, no, I don't know about this. And he's like, yeah, you can. Just straight to my chest, like sat there with it on my chest. He's like, are you gonna push the bar up? And I'm like, I can't do anything. He's kind of mean like that. He had to like rescue me, and I was scarred for benching like ever since, even when I started powerlifting, I hated benching. And I refused to train it. But basically, like, um, so COVID happened my senior year of high school. So I did my senior season of cross country. It was the first time I like medaled in a race. I was still running JV because again, like I was never good at running, but I just like doing it because it's like mentally good. But then COVID happened. I wasn't really motivated to run by myself because I was always used to doing it with other people. But my dad got a rack and like put it in our basement, and I knew how to lift. I was bored, so I was like, I'll start lifting more and more. Um, got back into like training, just gave myself a little, push pull leg split, stuck with it. Did my whole freshman year of college online, and then I came to the Georgia Tech campus at the beginning of my sophomore year. And I was looking around at different clubs to join, and I wanted to pick one thing that would help me, not gain like 20 pounds from going out like partying on the weekends, and one thing that would help me get a job. So I wound up like looking, and I found Georgia Tech Barbell Club. And I thought it was just a group of people that like to go to the gym. I was like, oh, I lift weights. I'll find some other people that lift weights. Like maybe I'll make friends. They'll drive me to the gym with them. I'll keep doing whatever training I'm doing. I didn't really know what powerlifting was. Like I would see people on like TikTok, like deadlifting a lot. I'd be like, oh, like, all right, that looks cool. Um, but I didn't really know about it as a sport per se. And so when I joined the club, I had started going to our campus rec center at the time. That gym is a disaster. Like it is a shit show 24/7. There's just people everywhere. Like you can't find anything. We're all engineers, comp sci majors. Like none of these people know what a shower is. It smells horrible all the time. And I just didn't like going there. So I kind of stopped lifting. And the club was like, hey, if you pay, $60, we lift at this place called Citadel. It's an off campus gym. Like someone who has a car can drive you there and you can train there. It's like, that sounds great. So I started going there, and I like got introduced to powerlifting that way. And they said, we have a coach. They wrote a program, if you want to try it. And I didn't really have a set program that I was sticking to. So I just tried it out for a little bit. And I really liked deadlifting because that's one thing that I had done on my own, like back home. And so I think when I first started, um, I could deadlift like 275, couldn't bench like 95, and I couldn't squat more than a plate, but I could deadlift a lot. So I was like, this is kind of fun. Like maybe I could do powerlifting. Um, and I didn't think that I would ever compete. I just liked the training style a lot. But then there's this girl, Mia. I don't know if you ever like seen her or heard of her. She was a lifter at GT, did like states and CNATS a couple of years. She was like the only other girl in the club at the time because it was tiny. Like the club now is like 10 times as big as it ever was when I first started. And so she was training, and she's like, yeah, like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sign up for a meet. It's fun. She used to run cross country, I know. And she was like, yeah, I really miss competitive sport. I was like, damn, like I kind of miss competing too. So I thought about it, and Kathy Mealy was hosting a meet. It was like a rookie rumble, and it was gonna be in like it was either a December or January meet. I can't really remember. I was like, yeah, like I miss competing. Like I'm gonna sign up for this meet. So I signed up for it, and I didn't realize that you had to do all these things like buy a USAPL membership, that you had to have a singlet. Like I still didn't have a belt. I didn't have a belt until like I don't know, like a year into training probably. Like, I would just borrow belts sometimes from people, but, like, I never bought one. I didn't have knee sleeves, I didn't have wraps, like, none of that. Like, I was doing, like, raw powerlifting. And so the meet got closer and closer and closer, and I just never did any of that. And so the first meet that I ever signed up for, I actually, like, bitched out of doing it. And, like, Kathy sent me, like, 10 emails being like, "Hey, like, are you coming to this meet?" I was too scared to respond. And I was like, "No, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just not cut out for this." Um, and so I just didn't do it. Also because I was broke, like, I didn't have a job. My second year, like, I had no money to spend on stuff like that. Um, but then in, I think, April, Elizabeth Turner had an unofficial, like, mock meet for people in, like, North Georgia area. So there were a couple of people from UGA, um, I think maybe some KSU people, a couple people from Georgia Tech. And that was the first time that I competed at, like, in an actual competition style setting. And I did really well. Like, I won my weight class for the mock meet. And I was like, that was really fun. Maybe I should do powerlifting. So I went home for the summer. I had an internship, so I started making money. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy a belt, gonna buy some knee sleeves, get some wrist wraps. And I signed up for a meet that August, and that was the first real meet that I ever did. And I think that was August 2022. So it hasn't even been like a full 2 years since I did my first meet. But yeah, fun fact, the first meet I ever signed up for, I dropped out of because I was too scared to compete and I didn't know what I was doing.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's absurd, honestly,
No,
because
I actually don't think I've heard of like a beginning story start like that. So
yeah, so that's something because it's crazy how far you came, and I didn't know it was just 2 years. Like I was like, oh, okay, she's probably been doing it since like, I don't know, at least like 3, 4, whatever. I don't know. I just imagined that, but look at where we are now, and I'm excited to get more into that as well. So I guess like kind of let's just talk about like the more recent meets then. So we see you did a meet in August back in 2022, and I'm pretty sure so 2022 ended. You did that qualify you for CNATS at your first meet or
Yeah, so I think my total at that meet was around 350 kg. So I did qualify for CNATS at the time because listen,
well
the
350
women's
is good.
QTs for
350 is really
CNATS.
good. I feel like. I
Yeah,
mean,
like, at the time, I was thrilled about that. Like, that was, like, a
yeah.
big number to me. And then right the same week that I competed is when I reached out to, Jaslyn Pepper, about coaching because I was like, "Okay, like, I'm really serious about this. I wanna have a real program because I was programming for myself the entire time. Didn't really have an understanding of what RPE was. I just every time I went to the gym, I was like, "All right, well, at this point, I can deadlift 315." And so in my head, I was like, if I do anything less than that, um, I'm wasting my time, even though my max was like very close to that. So every time I was stepping into the gym, I was doing like 90% of my max weight. So that did not go very well for me. I was hurting myself all the time. So I reached out to her because again, like I had that first internship money. I was like, let's go, like, let's do this all in. So I started training with her, and then I signed up that December for the Holiday Havoc. So that was the first meet I did with a coach, and I think my total was 397 and a half, so just under 400. And that was the second meet I ever did. So I think both of those qualified me for CNATS. But then, so my third real meet was CNATS last year.
That's crazy, man. So you went from 350, you said the Holiday Havoc, and then you added 47 and a half.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I put almost 50 kgs on my total in like what is that, 6 months, 5 months?
I
But
thought it was
I'd
again,
say it's
less.
pretty. I'd say it's pretty good.
I thought it was like 4. If it's a Holiday Havoc, it's like December, right? Or
yeah, it was mid-December. It
so
was
like
actually the week after Thanksgiving So at the Holiday Havoc, I competed as a 75 and I weighed in at 68.5 because I didn't really I didn't cut for the meet and I was like, oh, I'll just water cut. I still to this day don't really understand how water cutting works. I don't have a great grasp of it. So I messed it up. I started and ended my water cut the exact same weight and I needed to lose a kg. But I was like, this is a local meet. I'm tired. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. I'll lift as a 75. And I still wound up breaking like all the Delaware state records for 75. Because again, there's not a lot of like people that compete there. But yeah, so I bounce back and forth between like 67 and 75, just depending on whether or not I feel like actually prepping for it. Um, And honestly, the weights that the meets that I have had to cut into, I feel like I've done better at, which is weird. It like makes sense, but it doesn't. So
No, I don't know. I always think like everybody, because I've never not cut into a meet.
yeah,
And I know Avery's the complete opposite, so I'm sure he's gonna have something to say after this. But I've always figured if you have like a little bit of weight to cut, honestly, sometimes that's kind of cool because it kind of like that week going into it, you're kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's something that I can focus on and like it makes me feel like way more prepared rather than
Well, that
just, I don't
no,
know.
that's
That's
what I was just gonna
mentally.
lead. I was just gonna lead into. I would think it would be more of like a placebo effect of like I'm basically as heavy in my weight class as I can possibly be, and I'm getting myself down there. You know, like a mental thing, and you're just like I'm on top of everything as much as I could possibly be, type of thing. You know.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
the other thing is like if I'm just left to my own devices, like I eat like shit. Like I'll wake up, drink coffee, not eat breakfast. It'll be lunchtime. I'm like, I'm starving. I'm gonna eat like kava or something, or I'm gonna go to Chipotle. Like I don't eat nearly enough protein and I eat like a lot of garbage. Like I have a sweet tooth. So I'd probably just live off of like Oreo cookies. And then when I'm cutting, I have to actually pay attention to okay, like chicken, broccoli. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably
no,
it too.
absolutely. The only time I've ever had to cut weight, I was basically like just in a bunch of clothes in the car the day before, like sweating my ass off, and I weighed in at like 92.99, and when the weight class was 93. That's the only time I've ever had to do it, and I did go 9 for 9, and it's the only time I've done it. So hey,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if
but
you're listening, cut weight and you'll be better.
no,
But
I did it. Yeah, just go
yeah.
ahead, Tony.
Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about your first experience at CNATS. We see that obviously you're pretty good. That's very impressive that you added 50 keys to your total without really like, yeah, like at the same body weight range. So going into the first CNATS, like how was that experience for you? Third meet being a national in all the way in Arlington, Texas. How was that?
Yeah. So turnaround from the Holiday Havoc into April. Um, I knew that I didn't want to like miss weight because obviously at a national meet, like that's a much bigger deal. They can't just like bump you up. So, that's when I started working with a nutritionist to like make sure like I had it all under control. And then I wound up totaling 432 at CNATS. So definitely a less um big of a like a weight added, but still like I was really happy to put that much on in like 4 or 5 months. um I came in sixth, so I missed podium by one spot, which really sucked. But the thing is, with my qualifying total, the way that they pulled it, it showed up as 350 because that's what I did in August, and my 400 kg was as a 75. So it didn't even register that that's what it was. So I was on like the platform off to the side where like all the people who came in the mid range were, and all the people that were expected to like podium were put on, I think it was like platform 1 or 2. And so no one was really like keeping an eye on me. Like even if they were going through the roster, like trying to figure out like, okay, like who do I have to worry about? who am I competing with? Like, I definitely flew under the radar with that one. And then that's when I broke the collegiate, like, American deadlift record, and honestly, being on that other platform did help me, because there were people that attempted to break the record, but, like, they didn't hit the lift. Like, I know there's this one girl that went for 200, but she failed it, and their platform was running, like, 5 or 6 minutes ahead of ours, and so I remember sitting there with Jazz, like, watching the lifting, like, database, like, going in, and I saw that red light come up, and I was like, "Alright," because we were sitting there. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, like, squat went really well that day for me. A bench, I think I went 2 for 3, which is, like, very common for me. Like, my 3rd bench is just very hit or miss. Um, but then, like, deadlift has always been my thing, and going into weigh-ins, I put in my attempts, and I think I opened with, like, 170 or something like that, and I told the lady, like, the ref that was checking me in, she's like, "170?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You're a deadlifter, aren't you?" I was like, "No, I'm trying so hard to get away from being a deadlift specialist, like, I wanna be an everything specialist." Um, but I really wanted to break that record, so the record was 195 and a half, and, we planned to put in 196 unless I had to do more to break it. And so if some girl had put in 200 and hit it, like, I was gonna put in 200.5, just chip it, whatever I had to do. And so when that girl failed her 200, like, no one else was even coming close to those numbers. So we put in the 196, went out there, I hit it. Um, I feel like I definitely could have hit 200 at that meet, but I'm glad I didn't have to because I was tired. Um, but it was just a really great moment, honestly, to hit that, and then, I didn't walk away with podium, which was really upsetting because I really wanted to, and I missed it by I don't even know how much. It wasn't that many, that I was off 5th, but at least I got a record out of it, so
No, I mean, a lot of people never say that. So yeah, at least you got that. But no, that's absurd to
Yeah.
think. I mean, to think like you haven't been in the sport very long at all, and yeah, with your deadlift, because I've peeped on open powerlifting, you've never missed on deadlift.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not to
you
start now.
yeah, I'm about to say I'm a knock on wood, so I'm not the one fucking you up. But not and then at the end of the day, like you have the strength to finish a meet how you want to. So
Man.
Yeah. Yep, that's huge. Like Avery said, man, I mean, 8 months in, going from 350 to 427 and a half. I don't know many people doing that. And also the American record. Yeah, that's she said it in keys. I think that's 195. That's like 432.
It's 432 pounds, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's if you're listening, that's who we got here. Big American record holder. But that's amazing. So is now we got this kind of chip on our shoulder. Uh, we just got kicked out of top five. We got the American record already. Whatever, who cares about the American record? Who knows? Maybe we'll come back and add a little more to it. What do you think is so going into this year's CNATS? Like we gotta make it up for. We gotta get top five, top
Yeah.
three.
Um,
Where are you hoping to land this time?
I wanna win. Like, if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
being honest, like, I want to win, and I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but there's definitely some big fish out there, that I'm looking at, and, um, the one thing that I really wanna do is I wanna hold on to that deadlift record because it is important to me, and there's people that, are qualifying that have, like, a 220 kg deadlift, and,
that's
so
absurd.
I have my work cut out for me, um,
Yeah.
you know
Well, I guess that's why that 67 weight class is uh QT for to go to Raw Nats is so damn high because that is
Yeah.
absurd.
It is getting more and more competitive. I think 60, 67 and a half, and 75, like for the women, those will always be just super competitive. But for
Yeah,
some reason, the 67s is like one of the highest dots.
I think 67 it bumped up like something absurd, like 34%, like a 34% increase to just to go to Raw Nats in that weight class, which I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean when you think about like women and women's body types, that's where a lot of women are gonna lie, like how
Mhm.
men are with 183 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So it is what it is. I just got to keep getting stronger. And it is harder because, when I started powerlifting, like that 50 kg jump from meet to meet was what I was expecting to keep doing in a way. And I guess I always knew, like I always told myself, like, you're going to plateau, you're going to flatten out. This is what happens to everybody. And I'm starting to hit that now. And it's frustrating because I miss like making that amount of progress and putting on that much weight. Because between CNATS and then going into the Olympia, like my total did go up, but I like bulked a little bit for it. Not really on purpose, but just like, whatever muscle my body wanted to put on, like I was just gonna go for it. Didn't really cut for it. So I think I went up by like 2 or 3 dots and that was it. And
Yeah,
so I
because
was like, man, like
so you didn't have to cut for the Olympia because that's a dots meet. So you just,
right.
yeah. And since we're on the Olympia, I actually did jump right over that. Um, anything you want to say about the Olympia? First ever Olympia down in
Probably
down
the last
Orlando.
Olympia down
First and
there, but
last, first and last. So I oh I didn't do raw nats last year. I could have. I had the QT for it, and I didn't sign up for it because originally I was gonna. So this past summer, I took an internship to work in Huntsville, Alabama. Worked for NASA last summer, and then I was supposed to in the fall drive out to Washington State and start working for Blue Origin for like a fall internship. And then I wound up backing out of that internship because I didn't want to move to Washington at that time. Like my car was in shambles. I don't really have family out on the West Coast. And it just like something about it in my gut told me this isn't the right choice for me at the time. And so I kind of listened to that, took a step back, and wound up going back to work for a company in the fall in Savannah. So I stayed there so I could stay in Georgia because I have family kind of like in the Hilton Head area, and then the rest of my family is just up and down the East Coast. And being close to family is something that's really important to me. And I'm glad I made that choice. But back when the registration for Raw Nats was open, the week that I was supposed to start my job in Washington State was the same week as Raw Nats, and so I would have had to move my ass across the country, fly back to Memphis. I would have had to take off work during my first week. And it just, none of it logistically would have worked out. So I chose not to sign up for it. Looking at the meet, like I would have come in second in juniors by a long shot. Like even if I had lifted the exact same weights from CNATS to there, I would have come in second. And that pissed me off a lot. But then now, um, that's why I signed up for the Olympias because I wanted another meet in that same time frame. And I knew that I had the dots to sign up for a pro qualifier. And so I was kind of looking for those. And then when this one popped up in Florida, I mean, it was a 4-hour drive for me. So I was like, all right, this is perfect. Like, I'll sign up for this. Also, because I know you said, Avery, like, you just wanted the experience at that kind of level of competition. And that's kind of, I was looking for the same thing to, I didn't go into that thinking I was going to walk away with my pro card or anything. Like, my mentality was don't be in last. And so that's kind of what
I,
I was going for. Um, so
Yeah, no, it was fun for me. Well, I've never been to any of those expos or anything like that, so that was like a whole lot of shit going on to see at one time. But not, yeah, I just wanted to get out there and like feel out higher level talent because actually, I back in state last year, I had like that was when whatever the QT was. I had planned the QT for Raw Nats, and I only got my opener squat at State 2022 or whatever it was. So I missed out on going to Raw Nats, and Olympia ended up being the next best thing. And yeah, I just had my mid back was fucked for like 8 months, and I damn near did come in last place, but it was after after squat and everything, after literally being 83 kilos, damn near, I got emotional after my deadlift or whatever. I threw the bar down on my second attempt, and I was cooked for my third. But it was fun to like I met Brandon Jones for the first. I met Brandon Jones there, and
Yeah.
that dude's incredibly strong. Like, but but yeah, I guess we can segue into whatever Tony's got next.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of like, yeah, we talked about all your meets. And yeah, that's interesting that all that's tough that you missed Raw Nats. That's another kind of chip on your shoulder now. You're trying to make it right.
But
So I'm
I
glad.
will say you did not want to be in Memphis if there's that.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I'm okay missing Memphis. I'd much rather be in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I get what you. I mean, I understand completely because when I went to Raw Nats, I was doing junior, and I was pulling into fifth, and I missed it. Super upsetting. So next time I get that opportunity, I definitely I would like more. And yeah, we're in tough weight classes, but someone's got to win, right? Why can't it be us? So I want to kind of dive more into your mindset. Like you said, we've already done CNATS once, so it's not even your first time doing it. And also, you traveled to Orlando to do the Olympia, so you are not new to national or Olympia is technically an international. I think they categorize
Well,
that on
yeah.
USAPL.
it was a national level event. It was
Yeah,
national level refs.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I think you could take world record. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't even really matter. Either way, it's a serious meet. So we kind of got all that experience under our belt, and we're like you said, going for number one, which is dope. So do you think all that being said, going into this year's CNETs, maybe there's a little like extra level of like stress or like pressure that you're putting on yourself? Uh, if so, maybe how are you dealing with it, or do you think you're kind of just confident?
Yeah. There is a lot of stress on me. Like most of the stress is what I place on myself because I have these expectations of like what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. And I feel like for a long time, like I've been sitting right on the edge of like being a good powerlifter and being a great powerlifter. And I just want to like move into that. Like I want a podium at a national meet. I want to do big things. Um, and so with that being said, like I have to be confident in myself, in my training, and everything that I've been doing because, it's not just, from when the Olympia ended to now that I've been prepping for this. Like, this is what I've been doing for the past 2 years is getting ready for like this meet. And, one big advantage is it's in Atlanta. So I don't have to travel. I live in Atlanta. Um, you know, this is my hometown and anyone who comes here is gonna have to deal with me. I'm not big on gatekeeping my training. If I record one of my sets and I like it, I'm gonna post it. I know there's other people in my weight class that are like, oh, like I'm gonna private my lifting account and gatekeep it. Like, no, like your training is your training. You're not gonna I can't watch Jen Thompson bench 300 pounds and be like, all right, time to pull the 300-pound bench out of my ass. Like, no, like my numbers are my
That's always
numbers.
been my argument against the gatekeeping is like it's not like any other sport where we're calling plays like we're gonna lift this weight or
Yeah.
we're gonna not. Like
I mean, there is like an art to it, right? Like you gotta kind of play the game, but I feel like that game happens on meet day. Like you look at the attempts that everyone else puts in and you make your plan from there. Like if you're trying to outpull them, but there's nothing you can really do that far in advance. So I don't know. To me, the game that I'm playing is I want to scare other people off the platform. So if I walk in and I'm confident and I'm there and I'm hitting these numbers that I've been hitting in training, you know, it's not on, I feel like the pressure isn't on me then to win. I'm putting the pressure on someone else. Like, are you going to beat me? Like, can
Oh,
you beat me?
okay. Yeah, that's sweet. Thank you. That's dope. Well, no, I mean, you're in a great spot. Like we mentioned earlier, you never missed a deadlift, and that's your lift. And 220, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty like tapped in with like everything. Obviously, I don't know the 67s like you do. Like 220, actually somebody could pull that. That's
Yeah. So if you want numbers, right? So
okay.
I'm gonna break into four. I think I'm gonna break into 400s on squat. Squat's been moving really well for me. I just finally got a new pair of Inzers, so my old ones were like tearing apart in the back. I got the new ones on. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like I remember what new knee sleeves feel like. Um, so I think either 402 or 407 for a third attempt is nothing crazy. Um, I missed my third at the Olympia. I went for 385. I didn't hit it. But I did hit 375 in training. And so like to put, you know, 20 pounds on my squat in 4 months, that's not crazy to me. I think I can do it. Bench, I'm gonna do my best to break into the 200s. I'm not a bencher. I never have been. So looking at round 198, like 90 kgs, just so that I can stay competitive. And then deadlift, I'm gonna pull as close to 500 as I can get. And once I start peaking, once I start pulling singles, I'm gonna feel out like where we're gonna land. But um, somewhere in the 220s is what I'm hoping for. Um, we'll see.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna see. That's gonna be dope. Like no matter what, just seeing, like you said, playing the game. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if you have to change your attempts, manipulate small little things. It's gonna be an American record. You have it, so it's gonna be a fat one. Fighting for that. That's gonna be insane. I actually can't wait to see that from you. But whew, man, okay, so we figured out what you want to do. Um, you know, numbers wise at CNATS. You mentioned how it is you're the hometown hero. It's in Atlanta this year, which is awesome. Um, do you think maybe there's anything else outside, maybe something that you would like to see change from last year's CNATS, or like maybe from like obviously like not lifting wise, like not you, but like experience wise, like anything you would like different?
Um, I don't know. See, it's this is my second ever CNATs. Like I have nothing else to compare it to. And going to Texas last year, like that is 100%. Everyone always told me like, oh, I wish I was still in college so I could do CNATs. It's the most fun meet. And I feel like that's definitely the case. Like just the energy there with everyone's there with their friends. Like it's the people that they train with every day. Like I love how hype everyone gets. And that's what I feel like was missing from the Olympia was like it was just in the corner, like no one was really there. Like I feel like I am kind of a person that feeds a little bit off of like a crowd energy,
Yeah.
and so I just like that more. I've also never gone 9 for 9, and so I'm hoping that this will be my 9 for 9 meet. But yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna
not
be
really sure what
it's gonna
else.
be yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man. I'd imagine like yeah, like I mean it's in Georgia, like all your friends are gonna be there, different schools, you're gonna see familiar faces around the corner everywhere,
Yeah,
everybody's gonna be there. Um, so that's gonna be huge for sure. Right? Like that's being alone in a different state, I feel like is probably one of the hardest things I feel like for some people going to a meet, like one thing to go to a local meet and all your friends are there, like,
yeah,
recording you, hyping you up, gassing you up, like you're comfortable, you have all this attention and like, especially at a national meet, like if you're not one of those people, like nobody cares about you, like, and to me, that's kind of like I don't know. That kind of makes me feel like it's a little bit harder to like be my best or whatever. Just knowing that like I'm in a sense kind of like I don't know, kind of more alone. So it's definitely probably going to be way better this year for you. It's going to be hopefully it's going to be your year. That's the one we're looking for.
Yeah.
But yep, no. So I guess moving on from CNATS, let's I mean, do we have any idea like what's happening going forward after CNATS for you? Do you think
Yeah, so I'm signed up for Ronats this year, so I'll be going to that, and that's kinda moving forward what I'll be prepping for. I don't even know what that's gonna look like, it's a I'll get there when I get there. But I'm just mostly excited to actually go to Ronats this year and not have to miss it and sit there on the live stream and be like, "Yeah, I wish I was there." So,
do you think you'll be able to like be competitive in the open or because I know you said you would have gotten second in junior last year
yeah,
and
in junior, in the open, like, I think maybe I would have been 8th, ninth, 10th, maybe lower. I don't really know. I try not to look at it too hard because every time I looked at it, I would get mad. Um,
well, I
but
mean, you got
for
to think
this
of
year,
a lot of people are changing over. I'd imagine a lot of the women in 67. Who's 67? That's Gabby Martinez. I know she moved over.
Cassandra Carlton, she
Oh,
just competed at the
yeah.
Arnold, so I'm imagining that her next meet will be Raw Nats. Um, Janie Kovacs is one of the girls that's going to see Nats, and she's also going to be at Raw Nats. I'm not sure if Mandy Ogo, she won CNATS last year. I'm not sure if she'll be at Raw Nats. Um, Again, I haven't really spent much time looking at that roster because I try to focus on one meet at a time. But
And there's really no telling what I mean, know what it'll look like in a couple months anyway. So
yeah, so
Hey, well,
and
that's just I don't know. That's exciting. Always, shoot top. I don't know. Anything can happen, right? So yeah, I guess we
yeah,
don't. If you're not worried about it, yeah, we don't gotta go too deep into that or whatever. But any thoughts on, maybe are you? So we talked about the QTs a little bit. I think I don't know what the QT is for 67, but I'm assuming you either have it or you're probably gonna have it pretty soon. So what are we thinking for 2025? I know that's like far off. I know that's like crazy far off. But everybody's
yeah.
like the conversation, right? It's Powerlifting America versus USAPL. Um, I don't know. Have you put any thought into that? Are you kind of like, oh, I don't care as long as like I have
Um,
people to compete against, or
it is tough because I think my coach is moving to Powerlifting America, and right now you can't have someone like you can't handle someone at a PA meet and at a USAPL meet. Um, and so hopefully they're gonna change that in the future because all these people are moving over so that it's not a problem. Like as a lifter, I understand you can't go back and forth between federations, but I think as a coach, like powerlifting is powerlifting. The rules are the same. Um, so I have thought about moving over just because of her. Like, I've only ever had one coach in powerlifting and we work really well together. And if she did move over, like she could still do all of my programming, but when it comes to meet day, like someone else would have to handle me. Um, until I can't do CNATs anymore, I'm probably gonna stay in the USAPL. So I have a year and a half left of college. So I'm gonna do, CNATs 2024, CNATs 2025, and then in 2026, I might make that changeover. But for this year and the year after, I'm probably just gonna stay USAPL. Yeah, because I mean, the thing to me, right, is PA opens up all these different international meets, which would be a lot bigger of a competition. But at the same time, like I'm in college, I'm broke. I can't pay to fly to Romania to like compete at Worlds. Like that's just not in the budget. All these different meets, once you start moving up into those like bigger and bigger classes, it just gets harder and harder to move around, and I'm having fun where I'm at right now. So,
okay, Yeah, that's completely valid. I was just curious, I mean, everybody has their opinion. I think a lot of people kind of already know in the back of their head, what they're kind of going to do, long term at least. So I was just curious there.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough about, I guess we've been talking about meets for, past, future meets for a minute. Let's talk a little bit more, I guess, about like maybe, who kind of inspired you to get to this point, maybe, how, you've obviously made you had a long road coming here. Or is there anybody that maybe follow on Instagram or that you've met even in person at the Olympia or at past CNATS like that? You kind of are like, that kind of push you to be like, man, I want to be not necessarily like them or like kind of more in their position.
Yeah. I'm not really big on the whole like influencer type of person. Like I don't really follow someone just because they have big numbers and they're like famous. It's people that I've talked to a lot or that I see on a daily basis. So like Lilia obviously is one of my closest friends. Like just training with her, like we kind of try to push each other and keep each other in check and be reasonable. And then Hannah, she's another Georgia Tech lifter. She's a teen 3 and we're both from like the same area back home, so we met training at Power Build back in like PA. But she's another one who we just kind of go back and forth and we're like, "Oh, like, our deadlifts are kind of similar." And so like we're just kind of trying to like beat each other out for that. And like she has me on bench, so I'm always trying to play catch up. Um Cassidy, she just competed at states. Like that's my, number one bench like op, I guess, because I don't know if I'm ever gonna bench as much as her. Um, Trying to think of who else. Kenya, I know you guys just talked to her recently. She's another person who I met through like my coach and like Team Fueled. Um, she's always just like a really positive person who's always been super sweet to me. So it's just people that I like know that push me. I try not to focus too much on what like people that I don't even know or don't even talk to are doing. It's like people that are in my circle more.
Okay, yeah, no, I totally get that. That's
That's
obviously the
that's
best.
valid. You're not one for the glazing. Not one for the glazing at all.
Yeah, she's
No.
not she's not doing a whole lot of that. So but it's the best people to push you are the people that around you and also that care about you. Of course, that's probably honestly probably the healthiest thing. You never really know, like you said, what people on the phone are doing or what they're going through to be in the position they're in. So um but I mean, going past that, I guess I would ask like what would you say are some like maybe dreams or like aspirations in the sport that you have? Like, I don't know if you've, yeah, I don't even know if you've thought about that or anything. If you're just kind of like you said, you're just worried about being number one at CNAS this year, or like maybe in the future, you do kind of like, hey, 5 years from now, if I keep doing this, I could, I don't know, who knows? But do you have any sort of like dreams or?
Yeah. I really do want to get a pro card and like compete at, you know, something like the Arnold, although I don't know if the Arnold's gonna exist anymore. So that kind of sucks. But like my coach, when I first started working with her, like Jazz has her pro card and she would go to these pro meets and I saw her doing the pro series, I think it was a year or two ago. Um and just seeing that level of meet and how exciting it was and watching her lift, like to me, I was like, I want to do that. Like it might take me years to get there, but like that's the kind of thing I want to do. Um and I guess like plans could change if I do wind up switching over to PA, but like I think if I like keep pushing myself on this path that I'm on, like I can do it. It's just a matter of, time. like that's how I look at powerlifting, right? Like to me, no number is like unachievable or too unreasonable. It's just how long is it going to take me to get there? Like how many months of training? Like, you know, obviously I'm never going to pull like, a 900-pound deadlift. Like that's unreasonable, but like, talking about like breaking into the fives or something like that, like it's just going to take time to get there.
Not
Awesome.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a great mindset to have. I feel like a lot of people kind of think already kind of limit themselves with a certain, maybe end number or, you know, anything like that. And it's like, no, I mean, we're all human. If somebody else can do it, like you just gotta work and it's a matter of time. So that's great that you said that. So I guess let's just get to know you a little bit more. We'll start to get into the final questions before we wrap this up. I was gonna ask, like, when you're in the gym, what kind of music are you listening to? Do you have any sort of like training habits that you think fine you kind of like maybe it's a little bit different that you would share?
Dude,
Uh
music-wise is chaotic. Like, it depends on the day entirely. Like, when I started lifting, I was very much into, like, I don't know, like, Ghost Maid, Suicide Boys, like, trap music. Like, that's all I liked and listened to. And then as I started training more, like, I would start listening to dad rock because my dad would be like, "What is this music?" If we're lifting together, he's like, "Put the Metallica on." So I'd have to switch to that. And then somehow over time, like I've just started lifting to like country music. Like there'll be days at the gym, I'm just listening to Zach Bryan. Now I'm pulling like, week 4 deadlift and it's like slow
Oh, that's
ass country music.
absurd.
No, because like it's to me like
I can't imagine the American deadlift record holder is over there listening to Zach Bryan on our week 4 pools, man.
I mean, so last year, I'm standing back waiting for my deadlift, waiting to go out there and attempt the record. My headphones go on. I'm listening to ABBA. Like
yeah.
that's like, oh gosh.
No,
What
I
was
think
it?
that's I feel like that's becoming like a lot more like normal now. I think people are starting to kind of step out of that shell, like where, because at one point I think powerlifting was all like, yeah, you got to listen to like heavy metal or you got to listen to some like really ignorant, like loud rap or whatever. I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's kind of like being like just listening to whatever now. I hear a lot of people listening to classic music, R&B, Taylor
Yeah,
Swift. I know
listen,
Noah likes to listen
the
to Taylor
classical
Swift.
music is too far for me. Like I can't listen to a violin solo and then go squat. Like that's just
I'm
never gonna
sure you'll make it. I'm
happen.
sure you'll make it there eventually if you're listening
Yeah,
to
maybe
country
it's just not
already.
like yeah. But for me,
Yeah.
it's like I'm not like a hype lifter. I'm not like, "Oh, like, let's get ready, like, let's go." Like, I smelling salts can't do it. Like, you know,
Huh.
maybe like a pat on the back, but like I don't like that's not I'm not like a super hype person. I'm more of a okay, let me focus. Like I visualize the lift before I go do it. Like what I'm gonna do. I like close my eyes and I like picture myself doing it successfully and then I go out there and I do it. And like that's just what works for me. But I know some people are like yelling, screaming, like throwing shit. Like I don't know, like that's just probably never gonna be me.
Oh man, that's actually crazy. Yeah, no, I don't, because I'm like throwing shit. So especially if I've always wanted American record. If I'd imagine what I would do. I feel like somebody would like catch my belt, like the judge or something. Um, but no, I mean that's always interesting to ask, figure out what people kind of what they got going on, how they approach each lift. Yeah, you're a calm lifter. There's nothing wrong with that. That's probably why you're so consistent with your deadlift because you're not just running out there like yanking on it like an idiot like me. But uh I guess unless Avery, you have any specific questions, we could kind of start trying to wrap this up.
Um, I don't think I got anything like quirky. Nah.
Okay. Well, we always end up all these podcasts with the 3 questions. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but the first one it's advice to a newer lifter.
Oh boy. Don't be afraid and quit your first meet like I did. Just do it because it's more fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with just competing on like a local level. Because again, like when I started lifting, I never planned to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to all these like national level meets. Like, I think it's really important to just have fun in the sport. And like, I'll probably quit powerlifting if it ever stops being fun. But for now, like, it's hard work, but it's fun. So just have a good time with it.
Okay. Uh, Mistakes you've made along the way.
Don't pull squat, bench, RPE 10s every time you step into the gym. Like, I feel like especially as a newer person, like that's your worst habit. Like you hit that one plate bench for the first time and from now on you're like, all right, I got to do that every single day. Um so that's probably my biggest mistake is like pushing past, what's necessary and not taking it easy and sticking to a program.
Yeah, yeah. Don't have your dad drop 135 on your chest.
Yeah, yeah, don't do that either. Like don't have my dad, I guess.
Okay. Then for the final question, one technique tip, preferably the deadlift, since you're literally an American record holder. You gotta
Yeah,
know
talk
something
to
we
us.
don't.
Talk to us.
Gotta know
Okay,
something we don't.
I am not a cues person. This goes with the whole calm thing. I don't sit there. I'm not like standing in front of the bar like, here's my cues. So I don't post it a whole lot, but my deadlift setup is like weird. Like I do this thing where I like kick my feet down and then I'll like wipe my feet off and then step up to the bar and kind of like do this whole thing with my arms. The whole thing is like, I think it's good to have a routine before your lift, like something that you always do. Like I learned this in basketball. Maybe that's the one thing I learned from playing sports. But like when you go to take a free throw, you're supposed to have like a routine that you always do. So maybe like dribble the ball 3 times, like focus, then you shoot. Just having a consistent thing like that helps you like mentally get ready to do that same lift. And so just like it helps your muscle memory lock in. And then don't change it. Like stick to the same thing. And then recently, like if I had one technique tip for deadlift, it'd be long arms. Um, so that's the thing that helped me the most is kind of just like don't try to like get your shoulders up next to your ears because then it's gonna throw off your positioning. So long arms.
Yeah, no, I love how you mentioned the routine thing. I think that's so huge psychologically for lifters, just having a consistent thing that like so that way when you're on the platform and you got people and the bright lights and stuff, like you can kind of like maybe put yourself back into that
Mhm.
like regular groove that you have, like kind of calming yourself by doing your little routine. So no, I really like that one, but to wrap this all up, you have any like shout outs you want to give? Uh, also you could
Plug
also
anybody.
kind of
Yeah, plug anybody you want to plug. Whatever final statements you got to say to the world.
Okay. Number one person I always have to thank is my coach. So Jocelyn Pepper, she just competed at the Arnold. I love her to death, and she's helped me so much. Like, I see her as like my big sister more than someone that I like give money to write a program. And then number two, like my nutrition coach, Tevin Duncan, like he's so great working with me because I hate cutting so much. I just want to eat food all the time. And so he's great to work with. Um, and then I guess just like my barbell club in general. So GT Barbell, like without having joined that club, I never would have done any of this. And then like I said, Lilia and Hannah, they're like my best friends. Other than that, I'm not a big like Instagram person, so but yeah, those are my people.
sweet, sweet. Okay. Well, any word for the ops? I know. I mean, I don't know if your actual head-to-head competition's ever going to see this, So yeah, just like throw something out there for the person that's trying to pull 220 to beat Juliette Hartmann. What do you have to say?
It's the same thing I said earlier. It's not a question of like, am I gonna win? It's, are you gonna beat me? So
Yeah. All
bring it.
right. That's
Fair
a
enough.
great way to finish it. We're gonna like, yeah, quote that, hang it up. But it's been great having you, Juliet. Uh yeah, plug your social. Actually, I don't think you told them what your Instagram
Oh
was.
yeah, it's at Big Lifty. No.
Yep. So yep. It's great having you though. Good luck at CNATS. Thanks for coming on, but until next time, peace.